Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Township Council in the following manner. Notifying the Township Clerk September 25th, 2025, mailing notice to the Carrier Post, Central Record, and Burlington County Times on September 25th, 2025, posting notice on the official municipal bulletin board on September 25th, 2025. Anyone from the public wishing to speak will be permitted to address comments to council during the public portion only. Please make sure you place all of your phones on mute. Roll call, please, Terry.
Mr. Kaufman?
Here.
Ms. Nunes?
Here.
Mr. Simonsick?
Here.
Mr. Zaradnik?
Here.
Mayor Talarico?
Here. All right, before we get started, I did write something up to say to everybody. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. I truly appreciate the phone calls, the emails that I've received from many of you who want to stay informed and understand the issues we are discussing tonight. Your interest and involvement makes a big difference. Tonight's meeting is going to run a little differently than our usual council meetings because we want to make sure everyone has the same opportunity to ask questions and to hear the answers. After council has reviewed the discussion, and discussed the proposed housing code ordinance, we will take a short recess. On your seats, you will see a copy of the updated draft ordinance, along with a note card and pen. That draft is provided so you can follow along. Please remember that it may not represent the final version. During the recess, if you have a question, just write it on the card and drop it on the basket up front. When we come back, each question will be read aloud and answered. To keep things moving and fair, similar questions may be grouped together, but we will make sure that everybody's concern is addressed. After the Q&A, we will move into the public comment portion of the meeting. Anyone who wishes to speak will have up to 5 minutes to share comment with council. Please know council may or may not respond during that part. This process is meant to keep things respectful, orderly, and make sure every voice has a chance to be heard. So, going into the discussion. An ordinance amending that township code to add chapter 155 housing code. Kyle, are you going to start? This is the Q&A session.
So I think just to start,
You wanna
again,
start? Okay.
everybody on their seat has exactly what council has in front of them. It's a copy of the draft ordinance. There's also a document that Kyle had put together and that we'd worked on with the solicitor, just that would answer some questions that we've gotten over the last several days. Additionally, this evening, this is to just discuss the housing ordinance from what we were speaking on the 18th of September till now. There has been changes, council, as you've all been made aware. So if you need a copy, please let me know, but I think we're ready to go. Kyle, I think if you could give the overview of basically what we've done, where we've gotten to, and what this ordinance is about, and solicitor, if you'd be happy to chime in too, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name's Kyle Wagner. I'm the Community Development Director here. I'm also the zoning officer.
Kyle, if you could just speak into just bring it in closer, just so we can pick you up.
I've been in these positions for about 25 years doing these inspections, okay? When I came to the town, I realized that there was no regulations on certificate of occupancies, inspections, and no inspection process that was involved. So coming up with the ordinance that I've written in numerous other towns, we proposed this ordinance. Listening to you the other night in the council meeting and listening to your concerns, I went back and did some revisions based on making it a little bit more user-friendly and understanding to the public to what is required and what's not required, okay? So we went through, we made some revisions. Do they have a copy of this
They do.
on their desk?
Yes.
Okay. Or on their seat?
On their chairs, yes.
So you can see in red is all the changes.
Oh, they don't have the color copy, though, so, yeah.
Oh, they don't have that?
Yep, they don't have a color copy,
Oh, okay,
so
all
we'll
right.
just have to explain.
So basically, we did some verbiage on it. Certificate of occupancy is now certificate of inspection / certificate of continued occupancy. I also indicated if you look at 155-1A, this explains some of the things that are required for a certificate of occupancy in order to protect the public's.
Page 155-1, letter A.
First page. Okay?
First page.
That's because this one's on top.
Up.
So that seems the first one. This is the second.
The first staple page.
Yes, we're looking at the Township of Maple Shade Ordinance 2025-9. Yep.
Correct. This is with the ordinance number on the top of it. Okay, it just explains in A that in order to protect the public's health, safety, and welfare, the owner of the premises or owner's agent shall obtain a certificate of inspection / certificate of continued occupancy from the housing inspector or code enforcement official prior to the occurrence of any of one of the following. And then it lists in each one what would require certificate of occupancy and continued occupancy inspection. Number one is a prior to any sale, transfer, or conveyance of title, whether individual or business entity. 2, prior to a transfer of title, whether by purchase or other transfer of any improved property from one individual or business entity to another individual or business entity. 3, prior to any commercial sale or occupancy, whether rental, lease, or new ownership. So those list the categories of what would require a certificate of occupancy / certificate of continued occupancy. Then we just went through and we verbaged certificate of inspection / certificate of continued occupancy throughout. If you turn to page,
And I guess, Kyle, not to interrupt you, but just so people are following along, in B, C, D, E, and F, those were no changes from the original ordinance. The only change that would have been in there was that the words "a certificate of occupancy" was changed to a certificate of inspection / certificate of continued occupancy. Those were the changes that were made, correct?
So before we go any further, I have a question, because there was a motion made at the last meeting for us to table this and put a committee together. And I'm hearing the word "we" out of Kyle's mouth, and I would like to know if there was a committee formed, who was on it, and why are we rushing through this? This was supposed to be tabled for the people of this town. And as far as the committee's concerned, I personally want to be the liaison on that committee. And I want the realtors, I want the people of this town on the committee. Because as far as I'm concerned, there was no committee. Now, unless the 4 of the council members sitting next to me authorized us to move without having the committee, somebody's just doing what they want without following what the council wanted done.
Mr. Simon said.
No,
Excuse me. You had your chance. Now I will speak.
I'm not asking you.
You're not going to scream at me, number one.
Excuse me. I am speaking to these people over here. If I want to ask you a question, I'll ask.
Well,
Stop interrupting me when I'm talking.
I'm going to keep the quorum in this meeting.
Then if you want to keep the quorum, please let me talk and stop interrupting me.
You were aware over a week ago that we intended on having a full meeting.
I did, and I'm doing what
You did not raise any objections? You'd like to
No,
grandstand
because
in front
I'm
of
doing
your-
it right here in front of these people at an open public meeting. I don't have to present an objection to a meeting. I can let this meeting happen and let the people that elected us come up here and talk. Okay? I have an opinion. I have the right to speak.
Stop
So I'm going.
screaming at me. I am 2
Then
feet
stop
away from-
interrupting me. I'm not done speaking. So back to what we were saying. Could somebody please tell me if Sandy, Chuck, Heather, or John authorized this to move forward without having a committee? Did any of you do that? Yes or no answer?
There was no authorization.
All right, so then this meeting
Now, let
doesn't...
me finish so I can explain what
you
happened.
answered the question. It was a yes or no question.
Mr.
So
Simon
was
said.
not.
as far as I'm
Mr. Simon
concerned,
said, you are-
we don't need to have this. We don't
Mr.
need to
Simon
have it.
said.
We didn't have a committee.
Mr. Simon
Andrew, you
said.
asked a question, now let us answer. Susan,
It
you
was
can finish
brought
and then
up
I'll...
to you all in the activity report that there was a suggestion to have a community meeting where everyone could hear and everyone would have a voice, except so that there wasn't just a couple people on the committee. And I reached out to each of you, and I asked, I asked if you would be okay with
Let
a
her
special
finish.
meeting to discuss it.
Okay, I am. I will
And
let
then
her finish.
in the activity report said, we have made some revisions. We sent that out, and since then, there has been no objection. I've
So-
heard, no, let me finish. I've heard nothing from you.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
this evening's meeting was set up so that everyone in the town who wanted to speak would have the opportunity, not just 3 or 4 people on a committee.
So as far as the activity report going back and forth, as far as I'm concerned, that's violating the Open Public Meeting Act, okay? If you want to have something discussed, we don't have it discussed through an activity report. Those people out there have the right to have the discussion here, and if we had the meetings like we're having, we could just bring it up at the regular meeting
And
and
if you
have
had
them
an
come here.
objection to having it, you could have said that to me. When I sent you the message and asked if you were available, you said, yes, I am.
Yes, you asked me if I was available, and I said, yes,
And
I
you
am.
are. And I was
now
very
we're here,
clear.
And
I
I'm
was very-
talking because I have the right to talk. I'm an elected official by the people of this town.
I understand
And I
that.
have a lot of problems with the way this town is operating with the Open Public Meeting Act.
So let me get this straight. You're actually against the entire public voicing their opinion.
No, what I'm
on a
against,
draft
what I'm
ordinance.
against is, I'm glad to see all these people out here.
As am
What
I.
I'm against is that the idea that we didn't have a committee formed because you felt it was more important. That committee was those people that
I
were
didn't
out
pick a
there.
committee.
Why can't we have a town hall and then maybe have a committee? Why can't we just have the town hall and let everybody see based on the revisions that were given?
Because the idea of the committee was to do the changes on that.
Okay.
Not have the people up here just make the changes without the people being involved. Those realtors had legitimate points coming up here that needed to be answered. And they were willing to sit on a committee for this town, for the people of this town. And come up here and act with the town doing it. And none of that happened. And as far as I'm concerned, we promised the people that in the motion that we made and the vote we made, and we're not having that for those people. And I have that right to say that to these people, and they need to know that that committee wasn't formed.
Okay. Is that all?
For right now, yes.
Kyle, you can continue.
When I say we, let me clarify that. I went over this whole thing. I changed this whole thing. I proposed this whole thing. I brought this into this town. No one else did. When I say we, me and the solicitor had a meeting this afternoon, and we revised it even further to make sure that it was legal and it spelled everything out for this town, for the safety and the welfare of the people, the public, and the occupants of the homes in this town. That's why this ordinance is here.
Go ahead.
Under the I guess it's the last page on your book, which would be 155-7. Under, page 8, 8 and 9. I had 8 on mine, I'm not sure what you had. Okay, under that, you will see that it says enforcement of inspections. A, all inspections will be enforceable by the direction of the New Jersey State Housing Code, NJA 5-28, and the International Property Maintenance Code. That was put into place, and on the previous proposed ordinance, we eliminated about 8 pages. So from 155-7 all the way to 155-16 was eliminated, and it all referenced the book. The books are here if anyone would like to see them after the meeting. I do have them here, and you can see the codes. These are state housing codes and national codes that are required to be maintained. Can't change these. These are in black and white. Can't change them. So that way, that alleviated any concerns, because I heard some discussions on what is dampness, what is this, what is that. Everything that's in that book is code. It's black and white. You can't change that. That is code. Now, going through that, the reasons that I brought this in was this is an older town. I grew up in an older town. I know what towns like this need and what they need to be safe. So that inspection process was put in place mainly for those reasons. The health, safety, and welfare of the people, the public, the patrons, and everybody that goes into those homes or commercial units. That's why I put this in place. It's not to come in, hammer people over the head, make sure you're doing a million things. It's to make sure that the safety is adhered to. And that is why this is in place. Well, proposed to be in place.
Okay. So that's all, so we'll take a short recess now?
Well,
Is that-
I think,
unless anybody wants to-
does council have
Yeah,
any
I have-
questions
I
or
have a
discussions?
question. This is for you, Kyle. If you could
You want to
allow...
wait for everybody to stop talking first?
Okay, I'll wait.
Go.
Am I good?
Yep.
Kyle, could you elaborate more on 155-2? Because there was some concerns brought to my attention about people buying houses as is.
Sure.
And putting a lot of the burden on the people selling the houses. Like you said, it is an older town, and we don't want to burden the older people any further. And I'm going to ask you a second, can I ask you my second question too?
Sure.
There was also brought to my attention about fixer-uppers. Young people buying into this town would like to fix up their house. But they don't have another place to, young people just starting out, you need a place to live. So from what I'm understanding here, they can live in the house as long as there's no life hazard in the house when they buy it, and they have substantial amount of time to,
Have point of order, please.
No.
it's not,
Only one person is supposed to be speaking. You can't hear with 5 different conversations going on.
Go.
Thank you.
I would just like you to, because it took me a while to understand that, and I would like you to elaborate on that so that people understand
Sure.
what I understand.
So I'll address the as-is sales. 155-2, certificate of transfer of property title. Okay? Those inspections are put in place, they're for as-is fixer-upper rehab sales, okay, where it's dilapidated, it needs a lot of work. It's for a buyer to come in, purchase the property. The seller can, as long as it's cleaned out, there's no belongings in it, it just has one battery-operated, sealed system smoke detector within the unit. It doesn't have to have them per level, it's one within the unit. That is the only requirement for the transfer of title. That alleviates the seller's responsibility. The buyer can come in, they cannot live in the property. It's a fixer-upper, okay? They have 90 days to fix up the property, start working on it, get permits, whatever. Within that 90-day period, they must apply for a certificate of inspection/CCO inspection, okay? During that time period, it gives them another 90 days to work on it, with an additional 30 in writing. So it gives them 7 months to work on the property. Now, if they are diligently working on it, it's taking them more than 7 months, the inspector has the right to extend that as long as need be to work with that person to get the work done. The time frame is on it because you're going to have people who come in, and I've seen this in my experience, they're going to buy a property, they're going to sit on the property, it's an eyesore to the neighborhood, they do nothing with it. That's why the time frame is put on this, so that we have some teeth to go after people, okay? What you're talking about with the young couple that comes in and buys a property.
Yes.
Comes in, buys a property, they do all the life safety issues, they do the smoke detectors, fix the wiring, whatever. They have painting to do, whatever, carpeting, tiling, whatever, non-life safety issues. The inspector can grant them a temporary CO to move into the property and put a time frame that is negotiated on with the buyer on how long do you think it's going to take you to get this done. There can be extensions up to years, whatever it may take to get the work done. So there is workability for people who need the help and the money and the finances, whether they're young, old, whatever, to get the things done. Okay?
Thank you.
I do have one thing to say.
That was my only question,
Okay.
Kyle. I just wanted to make sure.
It's not really a question, but when I got on council in 2019, I asked at that time why we didn't have a CO. So I have known this is going to eventually get here to Maple Shade because it's been that way. Like I said, I've been here almost 40 years. So I'm well aware of a CO, and I didn't see it as anything that would be upsetting to the seller or the buyer. It actually protects you in many ways, because when I bought, I think I mentioned before, that I had an issue with the house. I was bad because I didn't get the inspection, because it wasn't what was done at the time here. So I got that. I made the decision to do that. But then I could have and was going to attempt to sue the seller that sold me the house because of the things that they weren't taken care of. It was very simple to me because I had to go through a CO when I moved down here in the home that I had sold. So in a lot of ways, it really does protect both sides. That way, some of the things that are blatant can be, brought to attention. So that's all I'm saying, that this has been in the works, and this question has been asked, even with the commercial properties that we've moved forward in. That was the first step. So this is just the next step that's been discussed even before Susan was here. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you. No. Nothing? Andrew? No? Okay, we'll move over to the, what?
Want to see if the solicitor has any?
okay.
Nothing.
I didn't forget about you.
No, I'm good for
Sorry.
Okay. You guys don't have anything, right?
I've got nothing.
All right, so we'll move over, and we'll take a short recess, and in that time, again, you have a note card and a pen. If there's a basket up here, if you can put your questions in there. We want to do 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes? Okay, 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Go ahead, do it again.
This is going to be last call for questions, unless anybody else needs more time. That's all? We have everybody's questions? All good? Okay. Somebody back there, you're still, okay. Take your time. All right, Susan?
Okay, first question, is a CO required when transfer for $1 to a family member? Or if due to divorce, a spouse buys out a partner, is a CO required? So is a CO required when transfer for $1 to a family member? That's the first question of it.
Yes.
It is, okay. And what would be the process?
One family member, can you repeat
Is
it
a
again?
CO required when transfer for $1 to a family, if they buy it for $1 to a family member?
No, that's an exception.
That's an exception, okay? Or if due to divorce and the spouse buys out a partner, is a CO required?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yep. If it's due to divorce and the spouse buys out the partner, is a CO required?
No, that's an exception as well.
Is that covered somewhere in here, or is that just in a general code?
That's in the general code.
Okay.
Why can't a committee be formed and find a reasonable middle ground to which all can live with, which is what was actually voted on?
I still want to have the committee. I made a motion, John seconded it, and we voted yes for it. And as far as I'm concerned, I have a thing here that I read all this, and this is my take on this, that I can read to the public. I can either do it under comments or I can do it now. But I have a serious problem with all this, the way it transpired, the way it's getting forced down their throat. If we want to do a housing ordinance and we have a committee formed, it could take up to a year. We need to look at it. I'm not disagreeing that we need to fix things in this town, but we need to do it with the people of the town. We don't know everything, and those two questions right there proved it. There's nothing in the ordinance about it. And if the people that are doing this on a committee want it put in there, it should be put in there.
So
Because-
now,
It doesn't have
so
to be
now
done
is the time, if that's a question and it's something that council would like to be considered to have in there,
Uh,
now is the time to do it. Now is the time to say, yes, we would like that addressed in there, we'll take that note and we can
And
put it in
my
there.
whole point of all this is to slow this down, okay? We have a discussion here. We put something together. We put it out to the people. We keep it on the agenda for 6 months. We're rushing this through just to rush it through. To me, it's like a money grab. I mean, the fees, the stuff that's in here. I just don't agree with it, period. I don't think it's being fair to the people of this town. I'm not disagreeing that we need to do something, but as far as I'm concerned, this needs to stop right now. We need to have a committee. We have questions right there now from the people. We can address them and then have meetings about it. That's the way that we should be doing this as far as I'm concerned. Then we're not hiding anything to those people.
So now is the time that we are addressing some of these questions, and this ordinance can certainly be drafted and changed. It's not under introduction this evening. This is for the discussion for the people. The questions are being asked from the members of the public, not
You're
just...
twisting this around.
I'm
The
not
committee-
twisting
No,
it.
she's not twisting it
Mr.
around.
That's
Simon
my
Sek,
opinion,
I'm
John.
not
You're
twisting it
entitled
around.
to that.
We
but
had the
you're-
committee, John, are you not in favor of committee now? It's
This
a
is
yes or-
better than a committee. I
No,
don't
it's not.
understand what
No,
you're
we
saying.
could put the
You're
baseline.
talking about being transparent and open. We are here with, I don't know how many people are here, 50 people here. At least 50 people here. We are on a public TV. We're still being televised, right? We are in a television. We're being public.
We're
A
not
committee of-
following what we agreed
a
to,
committee,
John.
Andrew, we're not passing an ordinance tonight.
I'm not
If there's-
saying we are.
If we feel that there's a need for a committee, it still could be formed. But you're grandstanding here saying that we're doing this, we're rushing things through. This was proposed in August. In August, Andrew.
And it was proposed in August, it wasn't talked about, it came to this thing, it got pushed in with the...
If it was not discussed in August,
Look.
Mr. Simon said, with all due respect, as part of my research, did you or did you not agree to the former ordinance that was introduced and approved by the former solicitor? The 16-page ordinance that was tabled at the last meeting?
No, I don't believe that I did. And
You
if I-
voted in favor of that
Listen,
ordinance.
if I
Excuse
did...
me, I'm not finished. You
I'm
voted in
answering-
favor.
I'm answering
You
that
voted
question.
in favor of that ordinance.
All right, maybe I did. And at
Based
this
upon-
point, this is coming up, and I'm not in favor of this now. So I can change my mind based on what I'm reading, what I'm deciding, and the people
so,
of this town.
so hold on,
My
wait a
other
minute,
point
hold on.
was
You
were-
changed your mind about an ordinance that you voted on. I changed my mind and think this is better than a committee.
Okay.
And not saying that we're not going to form a committee, but
Then let's do the committee.
let's have
I'll
our,
apologize if I voted. I'll tell you another
Let's
thing.
have our-
There's things that I have voted on at this point in time, such as the meetings for the township, to go down to one. After it was done, it was a discussion here, it wasn't on the agenda, and at the end of the day, I regret doing it. I don't think that that's good business for this township. And, you know, we all do things and make mistakes, but I'm at least willing to own that, tell the people I made the mistake and I don't agree with it.
Then you
And
should
I'm
also-
doing that now.
Then you should also be willing to own that, according to your words at the last meeting, transparency was everything.
This
There's
is way
nothing-
more transparent than a
There's nothing more
committee.
transparent.
This is way
than the
more transparent than a
meeting
committee.
and forum that the mayor and council has afforded the public this evening.
All right, that's your opinion, and I'm entitled to mine.
okay. Well, then I suggest we move on, 'cause
So
we are
let
not
me
having
just say,
a
there hasn't
conversation.
been transparency for me.
All right, we're going to move on now. Next
And
question.
and this is
Andrew.
the way to
Andrew, we're
go.
going to move on.
All right, let's go.
How quickly will inspections occur?
Based on the time that the application's put in, if I'm out on inspections or not in the office, you will receive a call within 24 to 48 hours scheduling your inspection.
Why are older structures not grandfathered in?
Older structures are not grandfathered in because they need most of the repairs that are needed to bring it up to code today. Things like that I've seen is, let's call it a service wire outside. A lot of houses I've noticed are frayed wires. That's a serious, serious issue. Houses can catch on fire from that wire being exposed. Just some of the things that I saw in some of the older homes. Now, is there workability with the older homes? Absolutely. There's things that are taken into consideration with them. The structures, you know, the brickwork, things like that. So there is things that are needed that you can't do in some of the older homes to bring it completely up to today's standards. So there is things that you have to work with.
And if I may, I think it's important for everyone to understand, and I don't think this was stated with clarity at the last meeting. Maple Shade, unfortunately, is behind the curve on this ordinance specifically. I would estimate that anywhere from 85 to 90% of all communities or municipalities within the state have some form of the CO ordinance that you have in front of you. Quite frankly, most of them, I think, are more intrusive than what you see this evening. I tend to agree with the majority of the residents. The prior ordinance was overstepping and provided not certainty. This ordinance is concise, it is clear, and I commend Mr. Wagner for just the summary that he provided, which provides invaluable information as far as what this inspection is and what it's not. This ordinance, without question, is a public safety and health ordinance. Not only does it protect you, but it also protects you from your neighbor's home that did not do improvements according to code, where the house is a safety issue. That's very important to understand. This is not a money grab. It is a basic life and safety ordinance to ensure not only buyers and sellers are protected, but also the residents in that community in which those homes are sold.
Neighboring towns have sample 1 to 2 page CO checklists. How come we don't do that?
If this ordinance is proposed, I have a proposed checklist already and set and ready to go.
I'm assuming that would be, we could include it with, if the
Sure.
council decides to introduce this at the
Absolutely.
next meeting.
Absolutely.
And that would be a standard form as part of the other forms in the construction department.
Mortgage companies do not give funds to buyers without a valid CO. How do you plan to have buyers complete the inspections when they can't get the loan? I'm not sure I understand that question either. Mortgage companies do not give funds to buyers without a valid CO. How do you plan to have buyers complete the inspections when they can't get the loan?
I don't think one has to do with the other.
So I don't think one has to, I mean, in my experience, the loan is basically, the CO comes after
that.
the loan documents are in there, or they do. I may be wrong, I said in my experience, so
I had to have
the
an
question is
affidavit.
asked, so we will find out that.
Generally speaking, as a condition of closing, in order for the lender to fund a particular transaction, the title clerk must have the CO.
Before
That is
title
correct.
comes.
Yes.
But-
And that also is typically a requirement of the insurance company that insures the home.
But then, wouldn't there have to be an affidavit from the township that says, we don't need a CO in this township? I believe that's what happened when I had a mortgage in place all those years ago, that I had to sign
So-
an affidavit that a CO wasn't necessary in this
I
town.
think that's yet another issue that buyers and sellers deal with, that if a town does not have a CO,
Right.
it could very well delay a transaction.
Oh, and it did. Okay.
So, Susan, can you repeat that question, please?
Mortgage companies do not give funds to buyers without a valid CO. How do you plan to have buyers complete the inspections when they can't get the loan?
So if a house doesn't have a CO, as of right now, and you're trying to sell your house, like, how many people, I don't have a CO, I don't know if I have a CO in my house.
You have a
No,
CO from
none
when
of
you
us do.
built it and it was inspected and it was
The
finished.
CO is good for the
Forever.
duration that you own the
Then
home,
you own it.
until you transfer it or sell it to another party.
Okay.
I believe this one was answered before, but CO on transfer of title, does that include estate sale to heirs, husband to wife?
That's the exception.
Why did this revised ordinance show up today? There was no time to digest the details revisions.
We're giving time to digest this. We're reading this this,
I think what the
that's.
important
you're
part is
gonna
to
have the
understand the
opportunity to
process.
take this home. This is not going to be read.
Right, and
We
I think
cannot
the
do
process
anything with
for an
this tonight.
ordinance, the process for an ordinance is that the ordinance gets, and Solicitor, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the process is the ordinance gets drafted, it goes to introduction. Council will introduce it. Typically, that ordinance is only introduced in title only. Once the document is completely put together and all the terms have been agreed to, then the ordinance gets published. After the ordinance is published, it has to be published for at least 10 days. It has to be put up on our webpage. It needs to be available here in Town Hall. Residents need to have the opportunity to come up and check that ordinance. That ordinance then goes, that after those 10 days, the ordinance then goes back to council for a hearing and a possible adoption. At that hearing, there's a public hearing, and that's where public comment normally happens. If any time during the 10 days that it's advertised, if there needs to be substantial changes, that ordinance would have to be reintroduced. So an introduction of an ordinance just by title only, if we don't have it, that's all it is. It's the concept that we are looking to introduce this. This evening, we're not looking to introduce. All we're doing is bringing these comments up to everybody, having everybody give the opportunity to ask their questions. Is that the best way to?
Right, and
Just to clarify, Susan, so would this be considered an introduction, or is this?
No, this is not a first
Nothing.
reading, this is not an
Nothing.
introduction, this is a town hall forum style where everybody can
Right.
see, take home the ordinance, this is what's been drafted currently, look at it. When the hearing is scheduled, which will not be now until, we're October, so until November, if it gets introduced at the next meeting.
So that would be an introduction, and then it's a first reading and second reading?
First reading is the introduction, second reading is the hearing and possible adoption.
So there's still runway?
There's a lot of runway.
Everybody gets to digest?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
this is why I feel this is better than a committee, because you're all here. You're all technically part of our committee. We're not going to introduce this ordinance tonight. We're definitely not introducing this tonight.
Wasn't the plan.
We're going to
We haven't
introduce
discussed it to introduce, it was to discuss the ordinance
lengthy
in general.
discussion. It may be introduced in October, and then it can't be voted on until November. This is why we're doing this tonight. We're having a town hall meeting. which is, in my opinion, better than a committee. This is 10 times better than a committee, because a committee's 4 or 5. There's 50 people out here.
But I
We're
guess I
taking
got
your
a question.
questions.
To say 4 or 5.
But comments, yeah.
Comments,
Comment.
yes.
Next one is, how many vacant homes are in Maple Shade versus total homes? I don't have that number, but we can get, I'm sure we can get that number.
I can
if you-
get that from Mike.
Yes.
How many vacant homes?
Vacant homes
As
in
opposed
Maple
to-
Shade versus our total homes.
Oh.
Where's the pre-inspection checklist? I believe we discussed that and said that it would be included with the final draft ordinance. This is government overreach, which restricts the sellers and buyers through negotiating. What is your response?
I agree.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I think it encourages arm's length transactions. Again, this ordinance without a doubt protects both buyers and sellers.
It's a fiduciary.
Anybody else on council? No? Okay. How does this do anything but put burden on the older and most vulnerable citizens of our town?
I don't think it puts a burden on anybody. I mean, older, younger, it doesn't really matter. It's a safety inspection. The inspection's there to make sure the house or the dwelling or the commercial property is safe and can be inhabited by the person properly. I mean, it's not an older or younger. I mean, there's a burden on a young couple. There's a burden on an older couple. You know, it's just there for safety and fire and electrical and all that kind of inspection. It's not there for if you're older or younger. It's for everybody.
Will this meeting result in a vote tonight on this, and should it start again as a first reading? I think we've addressed that no, this meeting tonight does not result in a vote on it, that it still needs to go for introduction, should council choose at our next meeting in October. Would you need a new certificate for every new tenant you rent to? If so, what about short-term rentals, Airbnbs?
This is not that. This is
Well-
different.
It's still a question. Yeah, Kyle.
Short-term rentals don't apply to this code. Rentals have their own ordinance. The rental registration ordinance, in the ordinance, it requires, and I'm just going to sum it up basically in layman's terms. When you pay your rental registration, you're entitled to change your occupancy and you get an inspection if you notify the township today. This is the way that code is today. We are also doing these inspections on the rental properties. This type of inspection based on the codes for the New Jersey State Housing Code and the International Property Maintenance Code. So rental properties, they do not have to conform to the CO unless the property is being sold. If it is being re-rented by another tenant, they're required to contact the township, have the rental inspection done prior to the change of occupancy, and then they can have the occupant move in upon passing that inspection.
Our town currently has a lead pipe problem. We have been told the township is working on this problem. Since safe water is a requirement of this new ordinance, how will that impact those of us with this problem if we want to sell our house? The lead pipes are not included. This has nothing to do with lead
That
pipes.
has nothing to do with me. That's an engineering problem within the streets, I believe. That's where it's at, correct?
And for clarity, that section in the prior ordinance was excised.
Was taken out.
Yes.
Why is the township trying to eliminate private property? I'm not sure I understand that one, but I'll put it aside.
I don't understand that question.
Yeah, I'll put it aside for now and if it comes up. So these look to be some notes. Seems intrusive, restraint of trade, government controlled of private property, appears to complicate as-is sales, not clear when inspector may grant extension. 1, why is there a time limit? What if it's not granted? And 2, how many inspectors are required for enforcement? What will their salaries be? Where do they come from? Private companies do this work. Government is taking their jobs. So I think the first question is, it appears to complicate as-is sales, not clear when, and why the time limit on as-is sales?
Well, as I explained before, the time limit is there only as if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do. The time limit's there basically on as-is sales so that the people who are sitting on the properties, and in my experience this has happened numerous times, where if you don't have a time frame and a code to enforce it, then you're going to sit there and look at a vacant property that might be right next to you, that nobody's doing anything with. They purchased it, they sit on it, they do nothing. The time frame's there to make sure that you have the teeth to go after them in a court of law.
How many inspectors are required for enforcement?
That would be based on how many COs we have coming in and you know, the workload. Right now, it's just me. And let me make this clear. I am the community development director. I am the zoning officer. I am the land use administrator. This is not my job. I brought this in out of the goodness of my heart. That's because I saw the town and I saw what it needs, and it needs these inspections to be safe.
I think too, for right now, like, we currently do the, through the fire marshal's office, which we have the one fire marshal,
Correct.
and then there is a part-time that helps him too.
Yes,
So-
we do a smoke detector inspection and a carbon monoxide detector inspection. That is all.
This document is very vague. Will the terms be provided, will there be more, will the terms be provided more detailed requirements specifically regarding to 155-6? I believe the 155-6 are the standards and the definitions. So this document is very vague. Will the terms be provided more detailed requirements specifically regarding 155-6?
Yeah, they're just definitions in reference to the code. The code is the New Jersey State Housing Code and also the International Property Maintenance Code, which, if you'd like to view it, they are viewable online. You can just look them up, Google them, and then you can look at every requirement that's in those codes.
And we can find definitions in those.
Yeah,
codes as
there's
well.
definitions in both of those books. Go right through it.
With the transition of this new process, I expect more people to fail than pass the process. Will the township react swiftly, meaning within a week to re-inspect?
We move as quickly as the repairs are done. I mean, if you have an inspection on a Tuesday, you get the repairs done over the weekend, I mean, we could be back that next week. You know, second inspections are pushed up even faster because we know that settlement's at hand.
Who decides that the house is a fixer-upper? What situations have occurred to spur this decision now? And what is continued occupancy? So the first question is, who decides that the house is a fixer-upper?
That's based on the buyer and the seller. I mean, if they determine that, you know, there's too many repairs in there for them to do and it's a rehab process, then that would be a fixer-upper repair. If I have done ones where I've gone for CO inspections and went to the house and determined and said, you really have a lot of repairs to do, this is really, really in bad life safety shape, you may want to go under the route of the transfer of title to purchase the property if that's what you want to do. So we do talk to the people and we do let them know.
Kyle, could you give an example of what would be some dangerous life safety issues in your experience you've observed during these inspections?
Certainly. Handrails. I did a house the other day where we were out there looking at trees, and I am the licensed DCA inspector. Let me add that for the township. The township just recently took over all the multiple dwellings in the town. I am now under the state of New Jersey's regulations, the DCA inspector. So we were out there on the property. The property is a three-unit complex. That's why I'm telling you that. It's under the state's jurisdiction. Went to the property. It's 3 stories. On the side of the property, there is stairwell that goes up to the 2nd floor, goes up to the 3rd floor. There is no handrail guardrails on any of the steps. We're talking almost 25 feet high. No guardrails, no handrails. That's a serious issue. Also looked at the service line, which feeds 2 meters, 2 or 3 meters. Service line's frayed ungodly. It's on wood-clad siding. That is a life safety issue. You go into a house and there's no working smoke detectors. That's a life safety issue. Go into a house and there's a sink with an outlet behind it and there's no GFI. It's not ground faulted. That's a life safety issue. You go into the basement and there's an electrical panel and it's got water condensating in it, dripping from the outside wiring. That is a life safety issue. Open junction boxes, open wiring, knob and tube that's not done correctly. They're life safety issues.
Thank you.
I believe it answers the question of what situations have occurred to spur the decision now. Those were places that you've already seen in the last week.
That's
or so.
correct.
Yep. What is a continued occupancy?
Continuous occupancy is just basically what it says. The house already has a CO from the build. You cannot ask for a CO. You have to ask for a continued certificate of occupancy. That's what a continued certificate of occupancy is.
How can a vote at a public meeting for a committee formation be changed? I'll pose that to You, Mr. Solicitor.
Because it was done with the will of the council and the mayor. That's okay.
How can a vote at a public meeting for a committee formation be changed?
Because the mayor and council already determined well over a week ago that this is the forum that would be provided. Yes, it is.
And I think what it is that, and it's almost to what Mr. Zaradnik had said, that it doesn't mean that there won't be a committee. It's that this evening, this is what was decided to do to start this process, to have
Right.
everybody's voice. If the buyer falls through, can they use the same inspection certificate for the next buyer? As currently worded, if it needs a new one, more money would need to be paid. So the question is, if the buyer falls through, can they use the same inspection certificate for the next buyer?
Yes, they can. They just have to do a letter stating that the sale fell through. They have to redo the paperwork. There's no fee. If it is a time frame, say it's after 30 days, the inspector may just want to walk through to make sure the water's on, the electrical's working, things like that, just to make sure that that's good. But no, they never add to the list. They just have to do that for their well-being.
I said that I would read everyone, so I'm going to read it anyway. New council members resisted township taking control of the fire department, now supporting township controlling all property sales. Does council have any response to that?
No.
Where is the checklist? Township will be on the hook for people looking to sue for missed items, just like Sandy wanted to sue. Who asked for this? We already had a township inspection with home sales, home numbers, fire extinguisher, smokes detector. People can get their own inspector. I have purchased 3 homes in town and paid for inspection each time. So the first is, where is the checklist that we were told? We said that will be included. Township will be on the hook for people looking to sue for missed items.
If anything, I would agree that this further protects the town from liability.
Who asked for this? I think that was, Kyle, you had discussed and said
I
that you
asked
had
for
shared
this.
that.
Yes,
Yep.
I brought this in.
And people can get their own inspector. I've purchased 3 homes in town, paid for inspections each time. And again, that inspection is different than what this inspection would be, correct?
100%. That is a much thorough inspection by a professional or a licensed home inspector. Again, this is a basic life and safety inspection. Known visible hazards. There is no intrusive inspection going into walls or anything like that. It's just what is visible to the inspector when they walk through the house. That's it.
Also, I just had somebody ask, could you just pull the microphone just a little closer, just so, there we go. Thank you.
So you're saying this is a safety issue, yet I know that home inspections are thorough by licensed people. So if the realtors are getting them inspections, why are we subjecting them to another inspection? It seems to me like you're duplicating it.
So, Mr. Simonson, there's a reason why roughly 90% of the municipalities already have this ordinance. And
Listen,
it's for the simple, let me finish.
no,
You're not going to
Andrew,
interrupt me.
Wait, I don't
Andrew,
care what
you
other
asked him.
municipalities are
Well,
doing.
you
I
should.
care about this
You
one.
should, because it's part of the law.
No, it's not part of the
And
law for
what
me
I-
to worry about the other towns.
What I can tell you is that not every buyer has the financial wherewithal, or, quite frankly, to know better, to actually have inspection. Not every transaction includes a home inspection. New Jersey law does not require...
So-
Excuse me, I'm not finished.
Okay, go ahead.
New Jersey law does not require, in connection with a real estate transaction, or a commercial transaction for that matter, that an inspection by a licensed home inspector take place as a condition of closing.
Can any real estate people...
A realtor always has to tell them about a home inspection, and we guarantee that.
Well, you can tell them, but it doesn't mean they have to do
They
it.
have to sign a paper to
Well,
say
and you tell them, but it doesn't mean they have to do it. That's all he's saying.
Exactly.
Well, exactly.
That's their choice.
It's their choice, exactly. That's exactly what he said.
It's important, and they should have it. They can make their own decision.
Why is it the government's responsibility to do that?
So
Yeah.
That's personal accountability.
ironically, the next question is this a state mandate?
No.
It is not.
It's not.
The only state requirement is with respect to the carbon monoxide detectors and the smoke detectors.
That's it.
Why did only 3 councilmen go out of the room? Was this a meeting? I guess that was at our,
So I guess I had to go to the bathroom, and
Yeah.
then I went back after my pencil, so, yep.
for as is, if people can't live in it, where are new homeowners going to live, and how do they save for repairs if they need to pay rent somewhere? I would never buy a home I couldn't move into. Why can't buyers sign an as-is waiver and fix up homes how they see fit? If someone chooses the cheapest fixes, what type of people are moving in? So the question is, for as is, if people can't live in it, where are new homeowners going to live, and how do they save for repairs if they need to pay rent somewhere? If it's not inhabitable.
Yeah, I think we already addressed that,
I think we
right?
did address that, right. I would never, why can't a buyer sign an as-is waiver and fix up homes how they see fit? They can. They can.
They can, as long as there's no life safety items
Right.
or issues.
If we were following up on the construction and doing due diligence with people doing work without permits, I think a lot of this would be avoided. I think that we don't have an enforcement code for people, you know, I don't see them going around putting stop work orders on people doing jobs in town. And it seems to me that if we had that maybe these things wouldn't be an issue for houses being sold, because we would be able to control that a little bit more with inspections and people getting permits to do work.
So I do
beg to
respect.
differ with you, Andrew. I was putting a sun porch on the back of my house. Not only did they bring a stop order, they brought the police to make sure that they closed the job down.
Well, rightfully so.
And I do disagree with that comment, because we have put plenty of stop orders in the last 8 months.
I didn't say that
so-
you didn't. I was saying that if we do that enforcement, maybe that will help prevent the issue of having inspections for the houses. The houses will be brought up through code, through that, making sure the inspections are done. This township has a record of it in the inspection department, because I know, and there's realtors out here, correct me if I'm wrong, most realtors will call the townships to see the inspection schedules for the panels, for the electric, for all the things that they're talking about. Is that a false statement by realtors? Am I speaking out of turn? True. No, it's true.
Mr. Simonson, one thing that you do not take into account is not every homeowner, unfortunately, pulls a permit for work to be done.
I'm well aware of that. That's what I'm
Okay.
trying to say.
So-
And if the township people are doing their job driving around, they can see it. Or if neighbors turn them in, we can stop the order. We
Mr.
can
Simon
see the
said
work.
The code enforcement officer is property maintenance, is not interior maintenance. Our UCC department, our construction official, does not drive around looking for things. He will see things. When he sees things, obviously, he stops. But code enforcement is outside property maintenance.
I'm not disagreeing with that. But what I'm saying is I ride around town all the time. When I do jobs in this town, I had to get permits to do aprons, to do sidewalks, to do all that, get engineer reports, my company. And I drive around this town and see people ripping out concrete, putting in aprons, doing it all the wrong way, and it just gets done and it's moved on. And you can't sit there and tell me that don't happen, and everybody can see that that's getting ripped out and getting done. Maybe we should have a program for them to drive around and look for those kind of things and go to those people and say, you didn't get permits, and start there. There's other ways to go about doing it.
That's exactly what this ordinance will curb. Exactly what you just said.
It will not curb it.
Exactly what you just said.
No, it's not. That's your opinion of it, and I'm talking about things that are happening now,
It's an educated,
not things that are going to happen in the
It's an educated
future.
opinion, not an
All right, well, that's your
on the-
opinion, and it's not one that I see fit with, so I don't really care.
All right, next one.
You said that you were checking for previous permits. What if an addition was built without a permit? Do things have to be brought up to code?
Yes, they do. They'll have to get a permit, and you'll have to conform with the UCC regulations. If you didn't get a permit, you will be cited for getting a permit for any of those items.
Why can't things be done in phases? Perhaps start with just an exterior inspection and fewer components.
That's why you're having a committee, correct?
That's why we're having the discussion.
That's why you're having a discussion.
The altered ordinance still refers to everything in the state code, so wording was slimmed down or toned down. Is that just an appeasement?
No. It was to go back to the code, and everybody can reference the code. There was too much questioning within the ordinance that was written, and it was too spread out. So to make it alleviate that, we reference the codes, which is black and white. Like I said, you can't change that.
This question was asked before. Is this the first reading or second? We've addressed that. If this is voted on tonight, does this stand as is? Again, this is not a vote this evening. It's a just discuss the ordinance and the contents there.
So just to clarify a statement, and I don't know if this is correct with all things, but the state has guidelines, it has ordinances, it has all those things in place. We can't change them and take away from them, but we can add to them if we want. So that's the slippery slope in my mind. You can add to whatever you want to do to it, but you can't take it away. So his statement to a point is correct, but there's a fine line with that, and I think everybody needs to know that. It can be added to, but it can't be changed and it can't be diminished.
Are they hiring extra inspectors? We've addressed that. If we need to, we will look to hire who we need to hire. What is the revenue going forward? That's undetermined at this point.
It's undetermined based on the amount of certificate of occupancies that come in, commercial, residential.
This is a state requirement. Are we not compliant? Why is this coming up now? Again, I think we've answered that a couple times. Who settles the dispute if the homeowner and inspector don't agree on a time frame to make needed repairs to a fixer-upper?
I've never had any disputes on timeframes. I mean, at 25 years, I think I've never held up one settlement. Everything's been workable and within an agreement of a temporary CO or whatever, just making sure life safety things are done.
And I think, too, like, once they're in the permitting phase through the UCC side, as long as they're showing that there's some work, isn't it, it's 6 months at a time that they can get the extension. So they have to show some sort of improvement, and then they get 6 months. That would have nothing to do with the CO portion of it.
That's correct.
This is exception for family estate transfer of title, which we did address. Yes. Why is the charge so high? I guess why are the fees so high? That's something that if council would like to look at, we could certainly look at, but that's the question. So I guess, how did you come up with, how did we
So
decide?
the fees were generalization by looking at the towns within the area that require the certificate of occupancy inspection. The fees are just there as a general guideline. If they would like to adjust them, I don't really care what the fee is.
This should be 155-1, are residential rentals included? And we had discussed that we do have the rental registration already in place that do have their inspections done.
That's correct.
Okay. Why are we here? Who called this meeting after a roll call vote to table and go to committee?
We addressed that already.
We addressed that. Who does the inspection? If it is the part-time code enforcement officer who is already overwhelmed, how do you expect to stay on top of compliance? That was addressed as well, that you'll be handling the inspections going forward for the CCOs and the certificate of inspections, and our code enforcement officer will continue to do the property maintenance ones.
Which is full-time.
You voted for a committee. Why are we here? Why have a CO when everybody does home inspections?
I think we answered that as well. Not everybody does a home inspection. Sometimes they waive the home inspection because they can't afford it.
May I call a point of order about his yelling without respect to anyone? What is considered any improved property? What is supposed to improve? How does this benefit the homeowner? What is considered any improved property? So it must be in one of the...
It'll be as opposed to a vacant property. Obviously, a vacant property, this does not apply to. It'd be a property with a dwelling or structure.
So what is this supposed to improve, and how does this benefit the homeowner? I think we've discussed that, too, as far as how does the program benefit the homeowner. You should appoint a sergeant of arms to keep one meeting, one conversation, maybe that's what that is. Is this just a way to nickel and dime us?
No.
I'll pose that to council.
No?
No,
No.
I mean, it's minimal fees.
How did we survive without this?
How do you
No,
survive?
how did we survive without this? I'm
Some
assuming all
people
this.
didn't, I guess.
Well, some people didn't, and, you know, you're taking a chance. You know, if you have a sale and you sell it as is, and you move into the property and you have no inspections, you're taking a chance with your life.
Yeah, I was going to say, show me, first of all, if somebody's buying a house, that's a big purchase, and that's a risk involved in it, and it's their responsible to maintain the house within reason. So I don't, you know, that's a fair question. We have survived without it. I think this is just overreach at best with everything going on here.
What is the shelf life of a CO from inspection to issue to closing? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Will the fire company be combined with continuing CO inspection, or is fire added fee and inspection?
The life of the CO is from the date of inspection. It's good for 90 days with 30 days in writing. I hope that answers your question. Is the fire inspection going to be also performed with this? Yes, it will.
For no extra charge. There's no extra charge for the fire inspection.
What do we charge for the fire inspection now?
Those would be the fire marshal inspection.
Yes.
I'm
I don't
offhand,
know
I don't
that
know
fee.
what the cost is.
I don't know that
I don't know
fee.
what the cost is. We will get that answer, though, and we will answer that. Why now, and what other towns do this? So why now, we've answered. What other towns, I think that was explained too at the other one. I mean, I know of the surrounding towns. I have them in front of me. Mount Laurel, Delanco, Cherry Hill, Riverside, Pensauken, Audubon, Haddon Township, Runnymede, Maple Shades out, Palmyra were the ones that I was able to find their things online, their checklists, their codes and whatnot.
So I have a question. You're combining this. You're saying you're going to do that inspection
No.
for the fire?
No, it's within addition with this inspection.
Okay, so we're losing the revenue off of that side, so if...
we're not.
No.
No, we're not.
No, that's
He
still...
just said there was no charge. I'm talking about the fire, the
The
CO
fire
and
is
the...
still in place, and there still is
Okay.
a charge. I said I don't know the fee for that charge. I don't know what you pay
Okay.
for that
Well,
currently.
what was your statement about not being charged for it?
No, I asked if it was included. I think that's something we should consider, one lump
Well-
charge for a CCO inspection, as opposed to separate for fire and a CCO.
Well, I think fire needs to stay separated because that's a whole other entity, and that's responsible to that office and that operations.
That
That's
is
my
correct. We
opinion
would
of
need
it.
to separate
It needs to
the-
stay separated.
The fire marshal's fees from this fee.
Didn't
So
we just regain those fees from the state when we changed?
we did.
So we should leave them in place.
Yeah, and that's something I've pulled the ones that we've had some questions on, so I have those out. So obviously we can follow up, and we will follow up with those. That does, and there's no questions. Everybody can see I went through everything. So.
And Susan, I think one amendment to the ordinance would be that we specifically recite what is the fire fee
What's that?
in the ordinance here.
Remember
That's
that-
through the fire side, and I believe that some of those are set by the state. And that's been running smooth for the last 25 years. We don't, the realtors call, they get that information, and that changes from town to town. I don't think we need to be mixing that with this and confusing people.
I agree, Andrew, but it has not been running smooth.
That's why the
We
state
had
came
an
in.
inspector that wasn't doing his job, and it cost us a lot of money.
That's got nothing to do with the house sales, Chuck. That's a whole
Yeah, I know,
other
but
that's
entity.
not
But you're
That's-
talking about the inspections from the fire department, correct?
It's
I'm
different.
ta-
Let's-
It's
correct?
different.
It's a different
Fire
subject. Let's-
official had nothing to do with the fire department, Chuck. The fire official was its own entity. I know this frontwards and backwards. You're
Okay.
making a statement that's not correct.
Okay, so all the questions are done?
All of the questions that were placed in the basket are
Okay.
done, yes.
Do you have
And the
anything-
ones that we had, I have a bunch. We will get those answers, and we
Okay.
will put them out as well.
Thank you. Kyle, do you have anything to add based on the questions?
No, I don't think so.
No,
No.
thank you.
Council, anybody have anything to add based on the questions before we open up the public? Okay, at this time, we're going to open it up to the public portion. As we begin, let's keep the conversation respectful and constructive. Please allow speakers to finish and avoid talking from the audience.
5 minutes.
We're going to give everybody 5 minutes to speak to try to get it to go, not a 3-hour meeting.
Apologies that I jumped up in front of everybody.
I'm sorry, please state your name and address for
Lou
the record.
Mancello, 19 South Boulevard Avenue,
Thank you.
Maple Shade, New Jersey. Maple Heights, you know where that is?
What's your zip
Yeah,
code?
we know.
You know where the Barlow Bungalow is,
Yep.
Kyle?
No.
Okay. We'll
I do.
educate you at some point. All right. First of all, I do want to address the ordinance and other things that came up tonight. But the first thing I have to address is the solicitor investigated an elected official? That's what he said. He went back and investigated what he voted for?
No, I said it's part of my due diligence.
Listen, I'm not
sir.
looking for your comments. I'm just saying, that's terrible. This is your guy. Anyway, play the tape. It says what you said. This is a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. Even your solicitor was under the impression you guys agreed to do this at a meeting. He didn't. In case anyone doesn't know, I spent 16 years up there. Claire's out here, she spent more than that. It was pounded into our head about the Open Public Meetings Act. Chuck, Sandy, I served with both. This is a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. You cannot poll council and do substantive decisions for the township. My opinion, you can talk to the solicitor. But sooner or later, someone's going to tag you on it with the state. Give me a second. Heather can read these better than I can.
Let me read them for you.
I did ask for this in advance. I was told no. Okay, fair enough. But this is very little change from the last. There is changes, appreciate it. But it's not a lot of changes. All he did was take verbiage out and incorporate by reference the same verbiage. But now we have to go find the verbiage. So he didn't change anything, if you don't mind me calling you he. He just incorporated the same verbiage by reference. This is the ordinance that was introduced and had a public meeting on that you tabled, mostly, okay? This ordinance, your solicitor said, was overreach, your own solicitor. I do have, you don't have to answer these. I couldn't write fast enough to ask questions. But one question that was asked, and I think I understood what the person was saying, and I had a question. If a buyer gets the CO, right, CI, a seller, I'm sorry, the seller, I'm going to sell my house, I get the CI. It's in my name, right? The buyer comes in, ownership changes. Can I give that buyer my CI that I just got that's still effective?
How long are we talking?
Within a month. I mean, it don't matter. I mean, within whatever time, reasonable time frame. So I get this. I get the CI. I'm selling.
CI.
Within 2 weeks, I get a buyer. He buys or she. Can I give that buyer the CO that I got?
So the CCO that we're talking about is good for the life of you living there.
Okay, perfect. Stop there a second. So I get this. So that's what that question was about. So a buyer coming in is going to buy this property not knowing whether they're going to get a CCO. Yes?
No, you just explained that you're calling it a CI. I'm saying it's a CCO.
All right, now
okay?
I just called it a CCO.
The CCO
Right.
that you obtained when you purchased the property, okay? That's what you're asking me.
No. I'm the seller. Okay? I got a buyer.
Okay?
Who gets the CCO?
The seller,
Okay, I get the CCO as a seller,
correct.
and then I can transfer it to the buyer.
No.
No, it's upon, I know.
It's a
I know-
contract
I
from,
Go ahead, say it, go ahead.
you're
what
getting the
he's saying
CO
is-
for the sale from you
Okay.
to
Yes.
whoever.
Yes.
That is the CO. So when Mary buys the property from you, that CO is good for the life of Mary living at that property with her family or whoever.
Oh, so that's what I'm saying. I can give it to Mary.
You're getting it for you, the transaction's from you to Mary.
Right.
That is
But
the
you're
CO.
You're selling the property to the buyer.
Yes.
That's why you're getting
I'm
it.
getting this CO in my
Upon
name
you selling the house.
Upon you selling the house,
prior to me,
not
prior to
as-
settlement.
When you're, yeah.
Have
prior.
a buyer, you decide, you've agreed on a price, negotiated price, part of that buyer's, part of that
Oh,
process.
and then I get the CCO.
Then you get,
Okay.
right, you don't get the CCO, put your house up for sale, and then try to buy
Okay,
it.
so I get the CCO sometime during the
process.
process, it'll come up with settlement, all right.
Yes.
And you'll be quick with that, I assume. You
So-
said you can't change the state code, right? But, right? You said it. I'm just laying a foundation here. You
I said you can't change the
Yeah,
state code?
It's the state code that's referenced in the ordinance. We can't
Correct, these
change
are the codes, yes.
it. Right, but you don't
Yeah.
have to include them in there, right?
Yes, that's what, we adopted these codes to be enforceable through our ordinances. This is the codes, you enforce property maintenance on these codes, you enforce certificate of occupancies on these codes, some of it, you enforce zoning on these
So you
codes.
have to include the codes in this ordinance,
Yes, you do,
but it's by law.
by law.
Okay. Dampness, you mentioned dampness, and this is the question I had before. And so now that you reviewed
This is not
the
questions, this is comments.
the relevant state
This is comments.
authority, how do you measure dampness? Because that chronic dampness is in those state mandates, right? So it's part of this code. So assuming that's correct, without you answering me, how do you measure dampness? How would you measure dampness?
I don't think dampness is in these codes, to be honest with you. It
Okay.
just says that the basements or the structure shall be leak-free, water-free.
Chronic dampness, free
It
of
does
chronic-
not say chronic dampness in these codes.
Okay, fair enough. So it's not part of this ordinance?
No,
Okay, thank you. Because it was in the last one.
no. You're looking for foundation issues, things of that nature that cause, I heard the last, and I did watch the last meeting, and I'm sorry I couldn't be here to answer some of your questions, but I'm here now. I heard that some people referenced that they had French drains, and hey, there's a lot of water, the water table's pretty high here in Maple Shade. Hey, guess what? When the inspector goes through and he sees that and he notes it, he or she notes it, they're going to note that there was water issues in the basement, but they're not going to fail the property because they tried to remediate it with a French drain system. That's a permit process.
So you'll pass something?
So that'll be passed. It'll just be
With a
noted
good
down
effort?
that there was water at the time, there's water present at the time of inspection. That's all that they would note it. But there had already been remediated facts that would be put in place to
Is that
remediate
written
that.
somewhere? I appreciate you would attack it that way, or is that written somewhere? Is that,
Well, it's in the training of when you're an inspector. Yeah, when you go through your licensing and your training, that's part of your licensing and training is how to work with people with doing
Okay.
certain things, to
you're going
notice
to work
certain
with
things.
people? I'm not a lawyer. I've worked around lawyers for 40 years, so I get hung up on the verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but fair enough. I'm
So,
not-
so a question to you, is that subject to an inspector's opinion? Because I know that for a fact, in the building side of the world, everyone's got a different opinion. And in the code book, it says that they can interpret the law the way they say it. So that's what I'm saying. All these things can be put down to a point, but then later on, if you're not here and someone else comes in, then we have a can of worms. So
Yeah,
this
the
is all
subject-
interpretation at the end of the day.
The subjective stuff should give everybody concern, and that's a subjective thing.
Correct.
So-
Every house is different. I mean, I've gone in houses and you
And
ask for...
every inspector's different.
Cor-
Some
well,
are
I'm
lenient.
not disagreeing with you there. Every inspector is
So it gives
different.
people a lot of anxiety unless the verbiage is very clear.
Well, let me answer that question with verbiage being very clear. Every house, every structure is different. I've gone in homes where everything on that list is there, okay? Everything on a sample list is there. But I have gone into homes where a joist is cracked. Joist is not going to be on that. There's nothing on there. You find termite damage or you find something else.
You would fail for that?
For a cracked joist in the basement?
In
Absolutely.
the basement,
Absolutely.
it's visible, you're not going behind walls.
No, I'm
You're
not going
looking-
behind walls, no.
You're not looking for knob
Just a
and tube-
visual.
knob and tube behind, visual.
We are visual
Visual-
inspection.
visual.
We don't take things apart or go into things,
Okay,
no.
and I had one question, and I don't know if it's still in here, because I don't have the references with me. It said something about 7-foot ceilings. Habitable rooms have to be 7 foot.
That's correct. That's the
That's a
code.
part of this?
Yes.
Is that a,
So
Wait a minute, let me finish, Andrew,
Okay.
if you don't mind, because this is concerning. Because if you go to, Chuck will show you where, they call it Maple Heights, I guess, where the bungalows are, all those dormers aren't 7-foot rooms up there. So if I have a 4-bedroom house, 2 of the bedrooms are less than 7 feet, okay? 2 aren't. 2 are habitable rooms. What do you do with that as an inspector?
So you're talking about the bungalows?
Any house. But
Any
I am
house.
talking about the bungalows.
Okay.
Any
I had a bungalow that I sold. It was 3 bedrooms on the first floor. You had the second floor. My daughter lived up there. It was not 7-foot ceiling clearance through 75% of the building, of the upstairs.
Sure.
It also didn't have the egress windows. It also didn't meet those requirements for a bedroom. It also went down the steps into the kitchen. You can't enter through a kitchen to get to an exit. That's not a bedroom. So it depends on the layout of the house and what constitutes the 7-foot clearance and where it's at. If it's in a regular bedroom, I have never seen a bedroom that's less than 7 feet high.
You're welcome to come to my house.
On the first floor, not a bungalow.
Not the first floor.
I'm talking the first floor.
All right, so as long as I have 1 or 2 rooms that are 7 foot, I get the COO.
You'll get the, based on those bedrooms, yeah, it'll be
Okay.
indicated what does not have, like we're talking the bungalow, let's go back to your reference of the bungalow.
Yeah.
It'll state on that certificate of occupancy, this is a 3-bedroom house, and the second floor is not a bedroom.
Okay, but I'll get the COO.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, if they're pulling permits and having inspections, the house is done. It's got its CO. So, I think for the people of the town, the UCC code is whatever it was whenever you were built. If it meets that code, if the inspectors approve it, you build it and you get it inspected. The township can't come in and tell you that you have to raise your ceiling a foot.
Yeah, that's what I was
That
worried
house
about.
met code when it was being built. I don't know what the verbiage is or what his thought is, but the UCC is for when buildings are being built in today's world following today's code. After that building is done and it gets a CO, it is grandfathered in forever until you sell it or whatever you want to do. They want to sell it and have it re-inspected, but you can't reinvent the wheel.
I won't
The
deduct that time.
UCC code, the
I won't
fire-
deduct that time
the-
for
The
you. No problem.
state can override that on the fire code for commercial
It's going to be
properties.
quick.
Okay.
Can I address that real quick?
Yeah, please.
When those houses, we're talking about a bungalow, were built, that second floor was an attic space. When that was a UCC inspection, just to clarify that.
All right, but
Those
if-
inspections are conducted based on these terms as well.
If those houses had permits and pulled and was inspected, then it doesn't matter. It was inspected, the code is there. If it was granted by the township to allow somebody to do it, then it's good. And today's code is completely different with the egress and all that. I get all those, I know all that frontwards and backwards. So, I think the people of this town are seeing this and they're having a heart attack thinking they're going to have to raise the roof, make a ceiling height. We're making notes of somebody's house when you're going through to do an inspection that are irrelevant at the end of the day as far as I'm concerned.
It does,
It's
Andrew, if I may,
overreach.
it does, I already had my heart attack, so I hope I don't have another one. But it does give people anxiety.
Yeah.
There's a lot of angst out there. So you're telling me, and what you told me gives me some comfort, but not a lot, because, like Andrew said, I was thinking, well, I got raise the roof, literally. I'm going to move on, though. But I think you can legislate that out. And if you got to legislate out these 2 references to the state code, you can legislate them out and put everything else that you want from them in and keep the other stuff out. Take a ride. It's 1907, my property card says. I can't imagine that, but that's what it says. The exceptions. You mentioned exceptions. Are they written in the reference? They're not written in here, obviously. Are they referenced in the written material? The two sites, the state, the IC, whatever it is.
Some of the exceptions are in there, but some of them are not.
Okay, so I think the exceptions need to be in there, and that's where the committee, I think, would come in. I think that's
Committee would
why
know about the
I still need
exceptions.
the committee. You have to have these exceptions written in, because
know.
Kyle, they have a bad day, maybe out sick, someone else, I don't know. We don't know who's going to be running his position. I saw something in there about trash cans not visible from the street. Is that in the reference material? It's no longer in this, I didn't see. The solicitor's shaking his head. Again, I perused it quickly. It said trash cans can't be visible from the street. Is that part of the state was that taken out of a township code?
No, that was taken out of a township code.
Okay, so that's not in anymore.
It's, no.
I only ask because if you come back to my end of town, you'll see the driveways are very long, and you can't notice a trash can, but if you can see.
No, I think that's more along the lines of you can't have a trash can in your front yard.
Okay, I can't read this.
They're all gonna do the same there.
Yeah, okay, I already addressed that. Eight.
John's kicking you out.
John, I captured time from, all
From Andrew?
right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lou.
I do stop.
Good evening.
the time.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Thomas Strangelo, 31 Overbrook, right here in Maple
Thank you.
City. Up the street. I am not necessarily against the getting a certificate of occupancy. I think it's a great idea in its principle. I'm not sure the timing is what's not upsetting people. We just came out of COVID with a lot of restrictions, government intrusion. The economy sucks. Energy prices went up. So I think, again, the timing. We were in the middle of a gubernatorial race where I suspect prices are going to be outrageous again. And here is being introduced, excuse me, an ordinance that potentially is going to cost all the homeowners who want to sell a house more money. So I think the timing of this. The other thing is, and I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek, Ronald Reagan said one of the biggest fallacies in the world, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. When you see something like this, which we've never had before, it's a little scary. The other thing is that Maple Shade, and I'm not knocking any past councils or such or anyone, but Maple Shade has never enforced any of their ordinances. We had Joe Zadowski here who wouldn't leave the building. If it did, it was only for lunch. When you called him for a problem, nothing got done. You had mentioned that a 25-foot run had no railing and the outside cable. How is that not addressed by the township? So where things have never been enforced before, all of a sudden now we're coming down with a hammer and saying this is what's going to happen. So again, I think timing is a little bit off. I watched the house on Thomas. It's been flipped, but it was years. It looked like a savanna out there. I was looking for the gazelles and lions. Township never addressed it. It was called in. I called it in when I was on the in code enforcement for the board. 555 South Fork Landing Road. It looks like Sanford and Sons junkyard. 8 years. 8 years, nothing's been done. First 5, I called it in. Still nothing's been done. So when you come across something like this, which is supposed to be for the safety and betterment, and you look back on the history, nothing's been done. So how do we now all accept it, saying it's for our benefit? So I think that's one of the problems that you're facing here. You seem to be very reasonable. You leave, the next person in may not be. You say, I'm going to use a subjective means, reasonableness. But I found, in almost 30 years of civil service for communities, that next guy in may not be as reasonable as you. Well, I guess that's about it. As I said, I'm not quite as elegant as Lou or forceful. Thank you for your time, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Renee Nichols, 644 Aquarian Drive, Cherry Hill.
Okay.
So although I do not live in Maple Shade, I am a licensed real estate agent for a property management firm. I have rented and or sold over 425 properties in the last 5.5 years, including here in Maple Shade. Sorry. So I have rented and sold over 425 properties in Burlington, Camden, and Gloucester County, including here in Maple Shade. So I have dealt with a lot of different inspectors and code enforcement over townships. So I can guarantee every township has one or another way of getting a CO for a property. Some are in depth and some are light. At the end of the day, I think they are for the safety of buyers, tenants, and I think it's important to have a consistent code. I think when you set expectations, the process is a lot easier. I know change is hard. I've had to deal with it in some townships. One day I'm doing a CO, 3 months from now, it's a different process, and I have to get used to it, so I understand that. That being said, I've worked with Kyle for over 5.5 years through Mount Laurel, and I can tell you he is really easy to work with. He's very fair. If you... Nothing. I do business here too, so it's important for me to know the policy. So, you know, the process is quick. You can give him a call. He'll go out to a property, you know, next day if you're in a crush for time. So I just thought it was important. I know if a lot of people don't know him, I have over 5.5 years experience with him. So I thought that was of value.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
My name is Louis Perrone. I'm the Director of Operations at Pickwick Apartments. I'm just a little bit concerned on how this is going to work because there's 4,609 rental units in Maple Shade. The average turnover of an apartment is 15%. So that's about 600 inspections to be done a year. And I just Googled how many houses are sold, anywhere between 400 to 800. So you're looking at probably close to 1,000 COs a year. I know you're going to be working really hard. You're by yourself. I would recommend, if you want to go through with this, at least hire 4 more inspectors. You had mentioned that that you would call us back between 24 and 48 hours. But how long before the actual inspection takes place from that 48 hours? And can we actually have the inspection? And then how soon after we get the CO can someone move in? Like, is there processing time, or is it like it passes and you give us something right there?
So to answer your question on the time frame on how long it's going to take to schedule an inspection, it's all based on the workload and how many inspectors I have, you know, going forward. It's hard to give a time frame when I don't know if 20 are coming in at one time or one's coming in at one time. You know, it's based on first come, first serve. Boom, boom, boom. We knock them all out. The time frame for the move-in process, I'm going to be the inspector. You're getting a verbal. You can move them in, and then you'll get the certificate, you know, the next day, the day or two, whatever it may be when they're sent out. But verbal approvals are granted as well. You're talking about the apartments, so you don't need to go to settlement.
Yeah.
Okay? The settlement process, probably the next day, they'll get the certificate. I have not started the process on how we're going to do this. There is a computer system we can use where it's all digitally. I can probably try to have it where the certificate is issued on the spot and emailed. I'm trying to work those out, but I'm not going to get into that until the ordinance is actually passed because, again, I have the other job that I have to do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I think too, Kyle, we had spoken that this isn't something that should council introduce in October and say they, you know, adopt in November. There's going to be a time process. So we had originally said it might, most likely will definitely be a January 1 if we could get it done. But we're not looking at something that it passes and, or if, you know, if it should pass, it's the next day.
Correct.
There's things
Yeah.
that we need to get put in place here, like you said, you know, the programs. And
Yeah, that's correct.
Hey,
Hello. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Really?
Sorry. I made Lou do it.
Renee Wyatt, 57 Thomas Avenue.
Thank you.
I've been listening to everything and digesting, and some thoughts kind of run into your mind. And I think I get the idea that the intention is to just kind of make the home safe, and I get that. I think as a homeowner, you just kind of, you have concerns about the potential for like hidden agendas. We see that a lot, especially with government. I'm not saying you guys are shady or shifty or anything like that, but I'm just saying that you start something and then it goes beyond what your intention is. So unless you have something in writing, like a checklist that says, we're going to follow this, And if you put that in writing and we know that this is what you're following and it's not going to go beyond the checklist, I would feel more comfortable with that. And I would appreciate that it includes not just internal, but also the external of the property. And that would be my concern.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, good evening. Mike Newman, 511 Alexander Avenue. First of all, I'd like to give kudos to Andrew, John, Heather, for slowing us down, actually. I think we've all experienced, probably many people in this room, with the December railroading, with passing of prior ordinances where things just got railroaded through. Kudos to you guys for slowing us down and listen, everybody, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I talked to some of you. I didn't really have a dog in this hunt, quite frankly. I took it upon myself to educate myself, think about it.
Thank you for doing that.
What's that?
I said thank you for doing that.
Sure. So I'm like, where's that voice?
Some people don't.
So some things that I wrote down as we were talking through this evening. One of the things I listened to you. First of all, thank you, Kyle. One of the things that concerned me about what you said, I don't know how many inspectors we're going to need. And Susan, you know I'm a big counter. But then you said if I get a call on a Friday and repairs are going to be made, then you should have a CO on a Monday or Tuesday. That concerns me. You don't really know what the volume's going to be, but we also don't know how many inspectors we're going to need. So, again, how many people are we going to need to budget for the inspectors? So that's concerning to me. The question about the old peoples and them being the most vulnerable, that really bothers me. Those people are going to need the access to their money for their personal care, and quite frankly, this is going to be really restrictive to them. I've recently dealt with it, family members that needed access to that money for personal care, and we're going to hit them hard. They need access to that money fast. And we're going to restrict them at the time they need the money the most. This is pretty personal to me. This is very restrictive. So I ask that we think hard about that. So one of the things came up about the remediation for dampness. So I heard you say if the people have taken steps to remediate for water, but can you require someone to put in French drains?
No.
Okay. But what if they're standing water?
If they're standing water, it's going to be noted on the inspection process. If there's no signs of mold or anything like that within the unit, then as long as they've taken the steps or there's no immediate danger to the house, then that can be worked with. I mean, I understand that, we have heavy rains, we have, flooding, we have this, that, and the other. I've done inspections the next day where the basement has 2 inches of water in it,
But what if they can't do anything about it?
It didn't stop the inspection. The inspection just noted it, that it was a basement. It's not a habitable space.
Okay. So some of the remediation around here is people get down there with shop vacs.
Correct.
So, again, you seem pretty reasonable. Not everybody's as reasonable as you. Unless it's in black and white. Again, I'm trying to think past you. Like, what is going to go into black and white about what remediation steps need to be?
I mean, the code's the code. It's up to the inspector to be able to work with the people. I mean, that's...
You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. I mean...
So if we get an unreasonable inspector coming in here, and if we get 5, 6, 7 inspectors, that could somebody make somebody put in a French drain system, and we know that
I
can be
can't speak for the people down the line when I leave, but I can tell you that every inspector will be trained by me to be performing the inspections all the same exact way.
Okay. And that could potentially be a problem that I think we need to think about along with this. So a couple more quick thoughts. I know I'm running out of time. Again, one of the things we need to talk about, Sandy, you talked about your personal experience, and at some point I think personal accountability needs to come into play So yes, people have a choice whether or not they get home inspections. People have a choice whether or not they have attorneys present at their closing. I don't know that it's the government's role to come in and protect people when they choose not to have personal accountability.
Well, I didn't say it was a government role at all. I didn't say that.
I understand that, but that's what we're talking about doing in some of these cases.
This is
So
a matter
if
of
we
safety.
have all of this done, we're talking about the government stepping in and taking over people's personal accountability.
It's a matter of public safety.
What's that?
Safety. It's a matter of safety. That's what you're
But if
mentioning.
somebody chooses not to have inspections
Well,
done,
that's one, you're comparing apples and oranges there. So,
not necessarily. If somebody chooses to come in and not have the appropriate inspections done, and they buy a house basically as is, I'm not saying that they put as is clauses in.
sometimes
But if
it's
someone
really not
doesn't
an
have
as-is, 'cause
inspections done.
Usually, a lot of times, a house looks perfectly fine.
In a highly competitive market, if they just buy the house without doing all that due diligence.
Which a lot of people are doing right now.
Exactly.
Right.
But why is that the government's role to step in? That's what you're talking about doing with this. If it's written as is. So again, I'm just planting seeds. And the last thing I'll throw out is, so there were some good comments here tonight. Talked about a committee previously. But again, so yes, it's not a foregone conclusion whether it's going to be a committee or not, but I'll throw it out there. How do we make sure that all the good thoughts that have come up tonight, how do we make sure that those things get fed in to the final ordinance? I don't think it should be going forward as it is today. I don't think it potentially should go as it's written, what Kyle put forward. Probably needs a little bit more teeth than it has today. So whether it's committee or not, I think that you all need to think about how you make sure you get the feedback, maybe a committee, how you get that feedback to get all those good thoughts in. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for slowing down the train.
Hi, everybody. Holly Brewer, 529 Windsor Avenue. I just needed some clarification. If somebody has a wet basement or there's a finding, does it prevent the actual COO from being issued then? So if there's, a puddle of water in the basement, you can't get your COO from that, so that prevents the sale of your home? Or can somebody get a temporary COO with that? Like, how does that work?
It depends on the condition of the basement. I mean, if you're saying a puddle of water, the CO is going to be issued. A puddle of water is not a big deal. If there's 2 or 3 inches of water in there, the inspector is going to note that there's water in the basement, but there's no immediate hazard or danger to the water being in the basement at that time.
So the severity of the finding is what determines whether the COO is actually issued or not?
The severity of it and what is located in that area. I mean, if we have electrical outlets that are underwater, we're going to have an issue.
Well,
So
I think everybody's pretty
I
reasonable
mean,
with
every
some
house is
stuff
different.
like-
So
right.
if you have a finished basement and there's water in the basement, it's affecting the electrical, then
Right.
yes, it's going to be held up.
Right, but if it's a general
If it's
basement,
general
you're
basement,
storing
then no.
Tupperware down there.
Then no,
And
it's going to be
there's-
noted, as long as there's no hazard to the homeowner or the house itself.
And you can then sell your house and get a COO.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you put the timer on for this guy.
Joe Walters, 163 Frederick Avenue. I wanted to let some of the people here speak before I came up, and I wanted to hear some of that. I wanted to keep an open mind on this, but I'm going to go back to what Mr. Simonsick started off with. And my question in the basket was, if there's a hell in a handbasket, that's probably it. But the question that I asked is, why are we here? Council took a vote at the last meeting to table and to go to committee. 3-2. And I can respect that. And everybody here can respect that. And I don't understand the last 2 meetings. It seems like I've been at more council meetings in the last year than I care to attend, to be honest with you, over this kind of stuff. But the last meeting and this meeting, don't you folks see it? You got a hostile audience out here that's upset. Not hostile, it may not be the right word, but these are your residents, these are your constituents, these are your family, these are our friends. Maple Shade has been getting by for a long time. We have a hell of a lot here to be proud of. I've been part of this community my entire life. My family, my grandparents, everybody, a lot of us feel that way. And then tonight, Kyle, you said that, I asked for this information the last couple days, 3 requests. I've been asking for what everybody got dropped in their lap tonight to kind of take it all in tonight, ask questions, do a basket thing. I've never seen anything like this anywhere. I think it's ridiculous.
Okay.
I think it should be in a committee. But Kyle, you said that this was your idea, that you brought this forward. With all due respect, take it back. I've been selling real estate full-time 35 years in this town. I've represented the township, the school board, a lot of residents, sold commercial properties, residential properties. We don't need this overkill. This is overkill. And some people have called me over the last week or so, and it's kind of the same thing I've been saying, is why can't we start off with where we're at and go a little by little with what's safety? Fire detection, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, fire extinguishers. Okay, simple things in the house, and then get the hell out of the people's house. They don't want you in their house. And then go on the outside. You want to talk about ripped screens? Do you want to talk about cracked sidewalks? I mean, how far do you want to go there? But we should start off here. And over time, we start to see things, and different councils will start to see things, and the manager and everybody else will say, code enforcement, yourself, people will start to say, we're seeing this problem come up over and over and over. We need to add a little something to address this. Now, the way I see it, I'm a little more active than a lot of people here. But the way I see it, a lot of this seemed to start up over the summer, and I could be wrong, and I'm sure somebody here is probably going to say, no, that's not the case. But it started off with this Swimply thing with a pool party. And then we went from a pool party to Airbnb. We're not having any Airbnbs. I don't have an Airbnb. Have no interest in Airbnb. I made that on the record. That was back in July.
Passed it.
Joe, we passed it.
I understand that.
Okay, well, you're saying
So,
you're not having it.
but
we
I'm
passed
saying,
it. Much to
the
my
meeting,
no.
and you were totally, I respect that. And council listened. You had an audience full of people that said, you can't do that. And Airbnb, well, it only affected, from what Susan said, 27, roughly, that we know of, 27 properties. Okay? I don't know how many Swimplys there were, or are. But thankfully, you guys decided to keep Airbnbs, and then there's inspections on that. Now we're revamping all of Chapter 155. And I just don't understand how we go from here to here overnight. You've heard it over and over again. You have to start listening to these people. The 5 of you are the council. It appears to me, in my opinion, that, and you've all heard me hear this, maybe Chuck and Sandy haven't heard it, the tail wagging the dog. We can't have, Susan, you're the tail.
I know. You tell me all the time.
And listen,
Good.
yes, and I've said, and Susan knows, and I've told Susan this to her face to face, and I've told most of the council, and I'll excuse my French the way I say this, but I say she's full of piss and vinegar, and I love her energy. And she knows I've told her that to her face. I've told council that. I love her energy. I think she can be a great manager. But if she's not doing what council instructs her to do, which I don't know if it's happening, and you can see from here that you're not doing what the public's asking to do, we have a problem. And if we can't get our manager, and Kyle, you're new here, if we can't get our employees to do what council desires, because this is what the residents desire, then we need to start terminating people. Just want to address a couple things as far as inspection goes.
Okay, we're at 5 minutes, so.
Well, I'm using Mr. Zabel's time.
Okay.
No, Mr. Zabel
Can't come
should
up
use
now.
his own time.
Well, I'm using his.
No.
Inventory is up 62% since all this started. The listing inventory in Maple Shade is up 62%. I think that speaks volumes. It's not just a coincidence. Something's happening to where it's affecting.
1 second. FYI, I'm not going to a meeting, I'm going to the little boys' room.
And you have 5 minutes. far as inspections go, I disagree with your solicitor and with Kyle and with anybody who thinks that when an inspector goes through and inspects A through, let's say, E, and 2 weeks later, 1 week later, or 2 years later, something happens and somebody gets sued because your inspector went through and passed C on that inspection or part of the ordinance, and they say it was in here and we got a CO, and now this person got hurt or there was a fire or whatever happened or a death, and now because his fingerprints are on that CO and that part of the inspection, we got one attorney here I know and I got one up here, you tell me that you're not going to sue and name the Township of Maple Shade. It's real easy. If we're not involved, if we're not doing that part of the inspection, you can't be named, can't be liable. So why are we opening ourselves up to liability by everything you add? The more you add, it's just like buying a car. The faster it goes, the more it does, the more expensive it is, the more your insurance goes up. That's what we're doing here. Keep it. I'm not against the CO, by no means, and I want to be clear on that. But we have to be realistic about it. This is an older town with older people. You heard, I'm not going to repeat what everybody said. They spoke for themselves. We need to listen to that and keep it simple. I'm going to give you an example of a commercial sale that I sold Maple Shade, as is, with no CO. Susan, you can write down the address. You can investigate it if you want. It's 30 East Main Street. I represented the Township of Maple Shade. They got to sell the former town hall. For some of you that don't know the history, I came into Jackie McVeigh's office and the council that was present at that time at the 11th hour because they had Hargrove Company give an estimate on demolition because they couldn't sell it. It was listed with Linda Rohr, not to throw her under the bus. She's a very nice woman. But it couldn't sell. Chuck was showing the building. Is Chuck still here? He left. I was showing the building. We were showing it kind of off record. And at the 11th hour, I came in with the full price offer. We had conditions. We had to be very careful how we put everything together and put the transaction together. But look at the building today. Look how it serves the community. Look at the buyer who bought it and the money they put into it. And look at the rateable that's there. So things can happen, and most of the time, this isn't just with commercial, but people do buy a property and they intend on fixing it up. It's your investment. I honestly don't know too many people that buy a property and just let it go to hell and figure, well, it'll appreciate somewhat, I'll die here, whatever, I don't care. They're either, it's their retirement, it's their leaving it to their kids, something along them lines. They're concerned about keeping their property up and keeping it safe. The last thing I'm going to say is I won't be here for your next meeting. So you have a break. Chuck, you got a break.
Sorry, Chuck.
I won't be here for the next meeting. So that's why I wanted to speak tonight. I will be watching it. I will be watching it. But we need to go to a committee with this, and we need to simplify it so that it's less obtrusive on people and stay out of their house. Kyle, it sounds like you have a lot to do. I don't know why we're doing more. We have, previously, the previous council, you talked about raising $500,000 through the new fire department in fees. That hasn't happened, right? Then it was cannabis, $48,000 per year for the license. That hasn't happened yet. Then it was, let's hit the school board with a $67,000 water and sewer bill to kind of offset your budget. And what do I say as a resident? And I don't know if you folks are catching on to this, but you say, sounds like they're trying to make up about $700,000. And then when this is thrown up, you have to say to yourself, is our manager just trying to come up with another form to raise fees and get some revenue in because they used $4 million to offset the budget this year of surplus, and they have about another $4 million for next year? What happens after that? So you have to start to wonder, why is this even coming up like this all of a sudden? And we can put it on the next agenda for introduction. I say you take it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Joanne Mortimer, 39 Lancey Road. I think we have to use some common sense here. There's a lot of variables in what the township is proposing. Do we really, really need to go there? Okay? I've been a realtor for 23 years. And as time has gone on, there's more and more in a contract than was perhaps, Sandy, when you bought your house. The last contract I did had 28 pages. All right? That's a lot of pages. And every page probably represents a lawsuit. My take on this is this. Let the home inspectors do their job. Let them do their job. When they go in, they just don't look at visible stuff. They actually go into attics and under crawl spaces and under porches. They do all that. Now, in looking at some of the surrounding codes that other townships have, now, we were told that, and you named townships, but it's kind of odd that some of the closest townships you weren't able to find online. But I went right online and found them, okay? You did mention Cherry Hill, okay? Cherry Hill does exterior inspections. And I think the exterior is important to make your town look nice. And of course, there's safety issues involved also. The only time they will go into a home is if the house has been vacant for 6 months or longer. All right, so that's what Cherry Hill does. I also check Cinnaminson. And I think Sandy, not Sandy, our township manager, Susan, you live in Cinnaminson, correct?
I do.
Okay. Went to Cinnaminson. Cinnaminson has no CO, except for fire inspection, but they also come out and check the sewer line. And I think this is very important. That's something that a home inspector does not do. The buyer actually has to hire a separate plumber to come in and inspect. So I think Cinnaminson, by checking the sewer lines, that's a very good thing that they're doing. All right, also Moorestown. Moorestown checks for sidewalks. You can have trip hazards. That's part of an exterior inspection. I think that's important. They check sidewalks. They check encroachment onto their township properties. I don't know how they do that. And they check to make sure that the water meters are functioning properly. These are things that our township can start with instead of a full-blown inspection where we have to hire all different types of people. Okay, the water department can come out. Exterior inspections go very quickly. And you're still helping the people in the township. Let the home inspectors do their job. We have other things to be concerned about. I ride around and I see cars parked on lawns. That can be part of an exterior ordinance or whatever we want to pass. You can ride around and see that people are working in their houses. They're going to have dumpsters on their properties. I mean, you could see if they have a permit or not. There are different types of things. We need to go slower with this. And I think if a committee is formed and people sit down and actually look at common sense and how to approach this, I think we would be better off. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else?
While the next person's coming up, Kyle, I do have a question, because she brought up a good point. You know, you're going to go into a basement, and if you see a cracked joist, you're going to make them replace it, or I don't know how that will happen, other than, you know, they don't get the CO. But then that brings up crawl spaces in attics. Like, we're going to inspect one part of the house, but we're not going to do an inspection on the whole thing. And people talk in towns. So if this person was made to fix the floor joist, and that person over there had a broken floor joist that it didn't get inspected because we're not doing crawl spaces in attics, I think that presents a problem for the township, back to what Lou was saying too. Like, so these companies are charging $400, $500 for a home inspection, spending 4 or 5 hours there. This isn't feasible. You would have to take 4 hours to go through and inspect the house, and you don't have that kind of time. And if you miss something, it goes back to what Lou's saying, we become on the hook for it. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. March Thierry, 200 East Linwood.
Thank you.
Obviously, again, a lot has been said here. I think it's really important to understand that everybody, right, we're all concerned about safety. I can pretty much guarantee that there are plenty of homes here that have long-term residents that you could find a dozen safety violations in the house. So what do? I mean, you're not going to go in and say, hey, I want to inspect your house, right? We don't do that. So I guess for me, I think that there's a lot of good things in here. You know, again, we want to keep people safe. I bought 2 houses in Maple Shade, just as an example, Kyle, and excuse me, I'd like a little more information on the as-is and how that's going to function. So in my last house, I moved in as-is. I bought it from family. I moved in as-is. It was 8 years until I was able to upgrade my electric, right? So, you know, I got the permits, I had the inspection, everything was fine. How long are you going to belabor this when it could potentially take years to, I had knob and tube, right? Well, you know, you can't even have knob and tube anymore with insurance. So I feel like this could be like a never-ending process for people. And there are a lot of old houses that people just want to move in and fix up as they go along. Like I said, 2 houses, I'm one of them. I don't have any issues with my house. I'm sure you could come in my house and say, yep, I'll give you your CO. But I really am concerned about that as-is clause. So I think for, Andrew, your point, I do think that we need to get a little more into the details of what's what. There's a lot of things in here that seem subjective to me. So you really do need to, I think, to appease everybody here, get them written down, talk about them, get them written down. And one of the young ladies came up and said, we need a checklist, and we need to be guaranteed that you're just going to look at the things on that checklist. I do worry. You are reasonable. You seem reasonable. You're one person. You're not beholden to stay in Maple Shade forever. So that's all I would ask council. You know, reconsider the. Maybe you have considered it. Maybe you're going to have this, you know, group of people, real estate, maybe some residents. But really, we need to just, I think, pump the brakes a little bit and just slow down. Susan, you already mentioned like January. I think that's too soon. So I really think that, obviously, you know, people are upset here. They're concerned.
That was the earliest that
Right,
it could be done.
right. So I just, for myself, I vote that you need to have a committee and get some, you know, get some more. Maybe you're going to hear the same thing, but maybe you can flesh out the details a little. And just one more thing. Just because 80% of other townships in this state have things on the book does not mean it's right. I'm not one to say like, well, they did it and they did it and they did it. Doesn't mean it's right for us. It may be right for us, but you know, you can't just say, well, I'm going to follow all the leaders. I do think there's a concern too, lastly, with the elderly, because I think it's going to put a burden on some of our elderly residents. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi, good evening. Karen Mastrangelo, 31 Overbrook Avenue. My question in the basket was about the number of vacant homes in Maple Shade. I've lived here all my life, so I could say from driving around, don't see a huge number of vacant homes compared to the total number of homes. Like, what percentage are we even? Do you have an idea, Kyle, of even like a percentage of what we have?
No, not off the top of my head,
Okay.
no. I don't enforce the vacant properties in the town, so I don't have that information on me.
Okay, because I get the feeling like this whole CO thing is to bring up safety, our property values, what's important to a community as a whole. But if there's a small number that are not complying with what needs to be done, we have code enforcement. They can easily drive by, see what's wrong, see the overgrown grass, see the houses in the yard, the cars sitting in the yard. I know there was a property right down the street from me that sat empty. The older woman passed away, unfortunately, and it's a year and a half before someone got in there. A year and a half. Flipper took forever to go through things. I don't know whether they did a great job or they didn't, but I know there's a young family in there now. But if I was the one exactly right next to them for a year and a half with animals running in and out of that house, I wouldn't be happy either. But that's a vacant home. And if it was reported as such, there may have been something in our codes. As a code enforcement person, do we have a vacant property ordinance that addresses some of those things?
So we did have a vacant property program and the state deemed it that it was not viable, and so we had to cancel that program.
Okay.
So now what happens is when there is a vacant property, the mortgage company or the owner of the property has a legal obligation to let us know that it's vacant. However, lots of times too with those things, and they're supposed to be giving us a name so that we can go to that person. What we're finding is that we're getting names that are incorrect. We're getting people that have left the companies. We don't have somebody that we can go directly to. So, the property that you're speaking to, and I know there was a property that was brought up at the last meeting, unfortunately, the owner died. There's nobody. We couldn't find anybody. And we can't just go in and take the property and do things. So, town does different things that they do, but we are on the vacant properties. We do work, but if we don't have a contact, we spin our wheels here going round and round trying to find somebody. Township
Right.
then has to maintain, attorneys get involved. We do have several of those properties currently that we're working on.
Okay.
Again, trying to find who the owner is so that we can.
And I
hold somebody
appreciate that,
responsible.
absolutely. But I think there are a vast majority of us, like people have said, we buy our homes. We're not here to let them just fall to crap and not take care of them. This is our investment in our homes, in our children to have the homes when we're done. We take pride in what we're doing. So I don't really feel like there's a huge issue to bring such a big change into the sale of the thing. That's just my 2 cents. I do have a couple concerns with the housing inspector, and Kyle, forgive me, I didn't even know you were here as an employee. How long have you even been here in Maple Shade?
4 months, 5 months.
Okay, and so you're bringing this forward as you feel it's something that's important for everybody. My concern is what you look for in your inspection, if that in any way conflicts with what the buyer's home inspector says, who gets the final call on that? So it's going to have to be you or the property won't sell. So then you have a buyer and seller who are already negotiating home inspection issues or whatever, pricing, things like that. Now they have to add another layer of inspecting or another layer of negotiating because you have now added something that maybe that home inspector didn't get. Or to your point, Sandy, maybe they did get the home inspection. Now the buyer's like, oh, you better come off of this property another 10 grand because you're not going to get a CO if you don't do this, this, and this. So I can see how it's going to affect the sale of homes, for sure. That shouldn't be a waylay to instituting a CO, but I agree with some of the other comments that we should be, if we're going to start something, let's start small. And I agree with your checklist, but we have outside inspections on a number of neighboring properties. It's outside only. Okay, show me the grass. That you could have easily caught no railings on 3 stories to a home. Anybody could have drove by and saw that. It was absolutely ridiculous and needed to be cited. My other concern is based on the number of homes now that Joe Walters just said, or one of the other realtors, the amount of homes that are selling, do you have an office staff or is it just you?
Right now, it's just me.
Okay. So who's going to be doing the back-end paperwork? Do we have to hire someone else? Do we have to hire more inspectors to keep up with, because once you put it in, we're not going to take it back. What is that as a taxpayer for me? What's that make my taxes go up now? Everybody knows our taxes never go down. Mine have roughly inched up $150 every year. I know it's mostly the school, but there is a level of fiscal responsibility. Adding more inspectors, adding staff to accommodate something that was on a wish list of an employee who just started here 4 months ago. That's my take, and no disrespect meant whatsoever. I also wanted to remind council that we're citizens. We don't read housing code books. We don't digest 16 pages of an ordinance and then 9 pages of an ordinance when you hand it to me right here. I'm 62 years old. I can't keep up with all of that and know what's in my head and have a good question and answer dialogue available. I take it home. I digest it, much like you do. You look at things, but you get it in advance. We got 9 pages dropped in our lap as soon as we walked in the door today. That doesn't help me. I'm looking at my other one with 16 pages. My husband's sitting next to me. We're looking at the 9 pages. How can you expect a reasonable dialogue and a good question and answer session when it's dropped in our lap the day of the town council meeting? So I appreciate that there's a consensus in general that it's a good idea to just slow this down. Give us more of a chance. The ones who are showing up, the ones who are interested, and the ones who have been emailing you and talking your ear off when they see you in town. Give us a chance to digest it. Give us a chance to throw our 2 cents in. And it might be that we can all come to a good consensus, but we just need a little time to vet out all of these concerns. So I appreciate you guys taking that time to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Why were you talking? No.
What?
Control him.
Austin Barr, 553 Cutler Avenue, Maple Shade. Hi, guys. So first of all, thank you. As someone who's been in the home services industry for the last 15 years, this is something that I encounter with other municipalities all over the state all of the time, and I really appreciate you introducing something like this because I think it's important here in town. I know everybody's upset and they're worried that it's going to be too constrictive, but in reality, something like this is very simply to keep you safe. There's been no municipality that I've ever worked in up and down this state, and I've worked in almost every one, that has been overly restrictive and people can't sell their homes, people can't do their business. That's not what I've encountered anywhere ever. So, I don't think that starting smaller or anything else, I think this is a process and a program and an ordinance that we need to have, and it's a process that needs to start now. So that's really all I have to say. I've seen a lot that's under these homes in Maple Shade. I've seen a lot that's under the homes in Cinnaminson and in Morristown and in Mount Laurel and in Willingboro. This county is getting old, and if we don't do something to encourage residents to keep up with it while they're there, or to be able to enforce it during the sale, we're going to end up with a lot of problems and a lot of liability. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to close?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Joanne, are you done? Did you have something else? Are you finished?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
She's going to go around for public art.
It was, yes, that's correct. All right, so moving over to council comments. Sandy?
Thank you for your input, and that's all I have to say.
Chuck?
No comments, thank you, Mayor.
John?
I'm just going to read off some things. My
I know.
take, some of them may be extreme to a point, but the first one being government permission to occupy or transfer property. I want people to just think about this. I know there's 2 sides to every story, but the requirements to obtain a certificate of inspection prior to occupancy, rentals, or sales effectively prevents homeowners from exercising basic rights without township approval. Excessive fees and financial burden. Initial and repeat inspections, whatever those costs may be, imposed hidden taxes on residents. If violators are not corrected within 90 days, applicants refile at full cost, punishing families financially. Delays in sales and rentals. Real estate transactions, leases could be blocked or delayed due to inspection backlog or minor issues, harming both buyers and sellers. Invasive data collection and oversight. The requirements to report names and all ages of occupants is intrusive and unrelated to property safety. Unreasonable maintenance mandates. Homeowners may face penalties for routine wear and tear, such as grass lengths, painting, fencing. These subject standards invite arbitrary enforcement. The ordinance allows for fines up to $1,500 per day, jail time, or community service. Criminalizing ordinary people conditions, property conditions is extreme and unjust. Restrictions on family living arrangements, minimum square footage per occupant limits, how families can live in their own homes, disproportionately impacting larger and multi-integrational households. Some of this is extreme, but to me, I agree with most people. I'm not against improving this township by any stretch of means, but it needs to be done in a slow manner. And it needs to be done, in my opinion, with the people of this town, with the realtors, and have a consensus and build on it, start out small and build on it as time goes on. And as other people said, when problems come up, we can address them, we can change the ordinance, and we can go from there. That's my opinion. I think that people can think about those statements, but, you know, the last thing I'm going to say is I think, hearing the people here tonight, I think it needs to go to a committee for discussion, and there's been a lot of points of things that were brought up by people in this room that I didn't think about. And they're all valid points, and they need to be answered, written down, and discussed and executed with multi-people.
Okay, John?
I'd like to thank everybody in the audience for coming up and participating in this town hall. In my opinion, this town hall, we've gained more value than any committee, because the committee made up of realtors and citizens of town isn't going to happen in the public. We heard what the public said, we will listen to what the public said, and I'm not saying that there is or isn't going to be a committee. But the old ordinance was tabled, it has not come off the table, so to say that there is not going to be a committee formed, that's not true. This, in my opinion, was better. We got way more people than the 4 or 5, maybe 6 people, I don't know how many people go on a committee. In my opinion, the committees in the past that we've formed have not worked. We've sat there and discussed and discussed and discussed. And it's come up to council, and it's got voted down. The 2 committees that I was on, neither one passed with the lengthy discussions. So I'm not saying that we're not going to form a committee. I'm just saying I thank everybody for their time, and just want everybody to know that, in my opinion, this was a better option than a committee. And if, as Andrew has said multiple times, it's my opinion, that's what I'm sticking to.
Thank you. Terry? Susan? You sure? Brian?
No, Mayor, I'd just like to thank you and council, and quite frankly, the public. I thought this was a very constructive dialogue.
Very constructive.
And I agree with the councilman that, you know, in my 25 years of municipal government, a town hall forum is certainly more productive than a committee, where then things tend to get kicked down the road with no results. You know, obviously, this council, particularly the mayor, is very sensitive to input from the public on such an important ordinance. And this is an important ordinance. So again, hopefully this dialogue and interest continues.
Thank you. I was trying,
Can I make a comment?
sure, you have my minute.
1 minute. So in regards to the committee, all right, there's been a lot of committees over time that have acted in this township, and I know what John's speaking of, and, you know, I'm not going to get into that part of it. But if it's kept on the agenda and it's discussed, and we have a resolution for little ones, The committee, to me, is as important as what John's saying tonight. This is good. It's open public meeting and the people are here. But we have to have the open public meetings for the regular meetings too, and that's a part of the process for all of it. Not just the committee, not just, an open public meeting for one entity or one subject that we're speaking of. The people of this town do get involved when there's an issue, but the issue right now is something that's going to be a continuous issue. It's going to be something that needs to be addressed regularly. It can't be done, in my mind, in one thing and it's perfect in the world. It just doesn't work that way. And listening to the people here tonight, everybody had a lot of legitimate points, and I think in fairness to them, we can build on all them with or without a committee, but again, it's just, I'm making that statement about the committees.
Kyle, did you have anything?
No, I'd just like to thank the public for coming out and voicing your opinions. I do take them into consideration, as you see with the last meeting that I watched on YouTube. I refined some things and did some things. So I appreciate you coming out and voicing your opinions on everything. Hopefully you give this a chance and we can make sure everybody's safe. That's all my goal is make sure people are safe. So.
Thank you. Again, thank you everybody for coming out, listen to what we have to say. Hopefully everybody took in what everybody has to say out here. We appreciate you coming instead of writing on Facebook that some of us can't read. Thank you, Kyle, for tonight. Thank you for your work all week with the manager and with Brian. You did put a lot of time into it, and I know it's not your job, but we do appreciate it. I know that I am one for, I don't like change, but change is needed in this town, and I know I ran on change. And we're trying to change up here, and it is going to be a hard one, but we will consider the residents every time. I think the town hall meeting was a great meeting. And I think we changed Andrew's mind on that, even though he still wants a committee. But I think everybody coming out here and being transparent is a great thing. So I think that's all I have. Everybody have a great night. Can I have a motion to adjourn until Township Council meeting scheduled for October 16, 2025 at 6:30?
I'll second.
All in favor?